HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. I'm going to say good morning, and this is the earliest I've ever been on. I came on, typically the earliest has been 5:30 a.m. Today I had to bump it up just a little bit to 5 o'clock. So here we are at 5 a.m. going live. And it's hump day, it's Wednesday, so you're halfway through your week, and it doesn't mean just another great weekend. Football Hogs kicking off their season. Alabama A&M Saturday, Reynolds Razorback Stadium, 3:15 p.m. We're going to have a pregame show on Thursday. I keep talking about that here on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. We'll do a postgame on Sunday. I'll call it a postgame. How about a follow-up or a look back or a recap a day later? We'll go through what's important with football. But, man, we're talking basketball. And look, this Caleb Holt thing, five-star class of 2026, that's what we're going to lead with today. That's what we got to talk about because this thing hit us like a bullet train, right? I mean, we found out, we knew, reported it more than 2 weeks ago now, that Arkansas was finalizing a visit with Caleb Holt. It had gotten quiet on the national recruiting front. Nobody at any level was talking about Arkansas and Caleb Hunt other than us. We started going back in June and July saying the staff's still prioritizing him when they went overseas to see him play in the FIBA U19 World Cup with other 2026 top shelf five-star guys, Tyron Stokes, Jordan Smith Jr., Brandon McCoy Jr., well, Caleb Holt, the star of the Adidas circuit. Those other three names are really Nike guys. He's the star of the Adidas circuit and one of several that Arkansas's prioritized on Adidas. Got more Adidas visitors lined up for now than they do the Nike guys when we go back through that. But Caleb Holt, man, I've got him rated the second best player in the country. Obviously a five-star, versatile guard, man. He's been a natural at the tube and showing off the goods as a combo guard. But we've talked for not only months and now weeks about this impending visit and months about the priority, but it's really been longer than that. I've been reporting on this young man going back 2 years and back when Calipari first took the Arkansas job. He had recruited him prior to coming to Arkansas, but once he took the job, a month later in the first live eval session in May, he was on the Adidas circuit, Calipari was, watching Caleb Holt play. This past May was not a live eval session when Adidas had their event down in Texas, but I was there. The Arkansas's coaching staff, no other staff was there, and I interviewed Holt. I've retweeted that this week once we found out about the visit date this weekend. And so you heard Caleb Holt on the record saying, yeah, I want to visit Arkansas back in May. I'm waiting on Cal to ramp things back up. But he's told me if I want to be a pro, that's the place to be, talking about Arkansas. And so this recruitment, it's like most of the ones we talk about, yeah, there's been just a few players sprinkled in that they got on late, that Arkansas got in on late. Cole Clower is an example. Chase Foster is an example. Clower, we know a visit date. But most everybody else has been a long-term relationship building situation. That's what Cal does with the high school guys. And because it was so quiet on Caleb Holt in terms of a lot of schools, it's been perceived that in the home state schools, Alabama, Auburn, we knew Kentucky has a visit coming up. I think he's got another visit scheduled maybe with Kansas. But with Caleb Holt, it's been kind of quiet in terms of the national buzz and the talking points and really where does Arkansas fit into this? Other than knowing that Calipari's pursued him. I mentioned the circuit stuff. If you remember last year when the live recruiting period opened back up in early September, it's about to do it again. We've been talking about it lately. Last year, Caleb Holt was one of those stops in the Atlanta area when he was at Grayson High School that Calipari was going to see him consistently at Grayson High School. Remember, that was around the same time he was going and checking on Malik Thomas, who was playing in Atlanta at Overtime Elite. So all those on-the-road recruiting stops, there was a lot of Caleb Holt in there. And a lot of other players too, but he was one that was consistent. So this has not been one of those fly-by-night things just because we started to hear things ramp up now. This is the payoff. The investment is a long one. It's not a Johnny-come-lately kind of thing. I think that's important. Remember, because what have we said? The perceived leaders, maybe it's Alabama. Some folks think that. We said that the other day of the two in-state schools, but Auburn's up there. Kentucky's got the visit set again, some of that stuff. Now he's got this Arkansas visit. But here's what I think is very interesting right now. Because this news popped this week, and it's really week of the visit, and it becomes your first official visit. We've been talking about all of the other ones, 3 or 4 as the dates have rolled in, still waiting on Abdu Torres to come out publicly. But we've been just on hold waiting on those to finally get here. because we've known about them for a while. So we think that the fact that Arkansas has made those players priorities, and we've known for a while now because dates have been scheduled that Arkansas is a priority for those players, it kind of seems like it's building towards something. And it might be, and it may not pay off for the Hogs. On, but with this guy, because it's happened so fast in terms of the public eye, it maybe feel like it's just kind of breakneck speed. And what really have you done here? I'm telling you, Calipari's done the work. It's just we found out here, we knew it was coming. We told you a couple of weeks ago this is being finalized. Boom, here it is. And now it's on us. It's this weekend. I said a couple of episodes ago when we talked about it, we don't really have time to pontificate, but that's what we're going to do today. I spent the first several minutes to set this up. We're almost 6 minutes in for the new intel. This is so I'm digging around. I'm really trying to figure out where is Arkansas right now in this, because I know Calipari and the Holt situation, just talking to Holt, even though it was back in May, his interest level is strong in the Hogs and in Calipari. And so here's what a source told me yesterday. This is what I got. He says that he believes that the Hogs are at minimum, in the top three here. He thinks Arkansas is that strong in this situation with Caleb Holt, top three. Now, I'm going to bring you two pieces of source information that I think kind of help shape this a little bit. But this one says top three. And this one thinks instead of Alabama, the in-state school that has some traction with him is Auburn. So you've got now varying opinions about which in-state school is actually leading for him, if there is a leader for him, or at least leading the other in-state school in terms of which one he might choose if he chooses a school from his home state. That weakens a little bit maybe the position for either one of them. If there's, what reality is and what perception is right now, maybe very different things. But based on the source information, good morning, Kevin, good morning. But based on that, it sounds like, you flip a coin a little bit. Some think this, some think the other. The other source I talked to, finding out, hey, where's Kentucky really with Holt? This is one of the Kentucky writers. And they said, well, he's got that visit. And this is a player that Mark Pope really likes. The problem is they don't believe that Caleb Holt is going to go play where Tyron Stokes is playing. They don't think they'll end up at the same place. Not that there's anything nefarious there, or that I don't like him, he didn't like me, not that kind of thing. Just that a couple of the top two marquee guys. I mean, if you look at Jonathan Wasserman's projected NBA draft that he put out a few weeks ago, we've talked about it a lot, referenced a lot. He's got these two guys ranked in that draft as one and done's 2027. In the same exact positions, I have them ranked in my top 25 for that class, 1 and 2. Stokes 1, Holt 2. And it may be one of those things where there's not enough basketballs and the perception of guys that want to be the feature guy, because I know that's something that's important to Holt. And I know with Holt, he wants to be one of those guys that whoever is coaching him is going to let him have the freedom to play through his mistakes. This is all in John Calipari's wheelhouse. Getting guards developed and showcased, exposed, good exposure for the next level, giving them the kind of marquee games, big stage atmospheres where they can thrive and even boost their stock for the next level. And it's a big reward for a lot of these guys to have those opportunities. And so, you're talking about two feature kind of players. I can understand why the thinking at Kentucky would be, or the people that cover it, they're probably not going to get Stokes and Holt. And we know that the perception is out there for a lot, and we'll see if this is valid. For now, I've framed the Arkansas deal with Stokes as on life support, but that Kentucky, and most think that Kentucky's the front runner there. There's a big NIL purse. We'll see what actually shakes out. We'll see if Arkansas can recover and get off life support, if that ever happens. But if Kentucky is in the lead for Stokes and that's where it's headed, at least this one analyst that covers Kentucky thinks probably won't get Holt. So when you're pairing up information, sometimes it's not always about what people think where Arkansas is in the deal, but you're listening and paying attention to some of the other teams you're hearing at the top. What's the real strength there? What are the real chances? And so when you start to hear, maybe it's not as strong for Alabama, maybe it's something, maybe it's Auburn as far as the in-state flavor. And then you hear maybe, Kentucky's got the visit. If Kentucky doesn't get Stokes, they'll get Holt type of thing, but it's looking good for Kentucky and Stokes. Just not sure how they think that'll work out. And they really don't see, again, Holt teaming up with Stokes. I mean, at the end of the day, they may team up and play at Kentucky or somewhere else. I'm just saying for now, these are the thought processes going into this. People that cover it and are, getting information, the ones that are actually getting information. And so, in addition to myself, I think this looks good for Arkansas. I think it's even better than we thought. And remember, just because things happen fast in terms of what the public eye sees, again, this has been a long-term relationship building process for Calipari with Caleb Holt. So I think Arkansas is even in better position maybe than I thought even a couple of days ago, based on the new information. I'm not going to sit here and call Arkansas a leader. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you is the reason I continue to dig and work is to find out as much as I can, get down in the little nooks and crannies, and then I bring you intel. Intel's not the smoking gun. It's all the little things that lead up to the smoking gun. Intel can be the smoking gun, but there's a whole bunch of intel that comes before that. That's, you're just building the case one way or another. Sometimes it's really good info, and most of what we bring here lands on what we say is going to happen. It happens. But that doesn't mean that in the end that your team's going to get the player. And so just remember that process versus results. I always kind of get preachy about that stuff. But things are looking up in terms of Arkansas and Caleb Holt, and you're getting him on campus. Calipari gets first crack. He's ahead of the other ones. And so some people want to be last. Some people like being first. I think it just depends on the merits of the situation. I don't think there's any proven anything scientifically in recruiting, regardless of what you like. But we'll see. We'll see if Calipari can do the job. I always increase my confidence levels. The other day I said I was increasing my confidence level from a 4 to a 5.5 with Holt. I'm going to bump that up even more right now before I actually rewrite the next article or update the old article to put my new thoughts on that scale of 1 to 10 confidence level in Calipari. I'm going to actually bump that up from a 5.5 now to a 6.5. So I'm increasing. The more I hear, the better, the more bullish I am on Calipari getting this done. Arkansas, I'm not naming Arkansas leader, but I do believe now Arkansas very likely is in the top 2 or 3 in the mix here, and nobody on the national level, none of these guys that are really drilled down were saying anything like that until very recently. But we've been building the case for a long time that Arkansas is in this. They're prioritizing this guy. Don't let the silence, the radio silence here for a while fool you, where you're hearing a lot of stuff about other players that you've known about are coming to visit, and you're just kind of waiting that out. And remember, I said this, once the live recruiting period opens back up September 3rd, you're not just waiting on guys to come in for their visits. Calipari and the staff are going to hit the road, and they're going to go out and see players. This will be a little bit inverted. You're getting him in before September 3rd. You're getting him in this weekend, the end of August, the weekend of the 29th to the 31st. He's going to attend basketball practice. We mentioned this before, the 3:15 p.m. kickoff for football, Alabama A&M. He'll get to go see. I don't know how long they'll keep him in the building, but that's going to be a dub, and it's all going to be fun and fantastic. And we'll see how many fans are there. But it's the season opener. You'll get to see a good vibe out there amongst the fan base. And so then, once September 3 rolls around, and before he's able to take other visits, Arkansas staff's going to make sure to go see him out at Prolific Prep now. He's moved on from Grayson High School in the Atlanta area over to Prolific Prep, which has moved from the left coast into Florida for this upcoming season, part of that Nike EYB Scholastic League. It's about 20 teams, but Prolific Prep's one of them. He's one of the main guys they've got now. And again, remember, this dude's, 6'5", very athletic, great instincts defensively. I keep talking about how if Jordan Smith Jr., who Arkansas is bringing in for a visit a few weeks later in September, late September, if he's the top two-way player in the country, offense, defense, Caleb Holt's right there. J.J. Andrews is one of the top two-way players in the country, the number one at the wing spot, I believe. Holt's more of a 2 who's transitioning. I've talked about this as more of a playmaker, more of an offensive initiator. He's got that in his bag. Will that be something that Calipari helps sell him on, that he'll help him continue to develop if he comes to Arkansas? The track record for Calipari and having this opportunity to be front and center with this guy is huge. Don't ever underestimate that. But I like the source information that's really showing Arkansas maybe picking up some steam here. Maybe it's not just now picking up again. This has been maybe building for a long time and part of a plan. And just because, again, all the public news splashed in the same week of the announced visit, and then the visit happens, Don't let that make you think that this is something that's been rushed, is the point. Um, and so we'll see where it goes. But Calipari and his staff will be on the road even after this visit to go see Caleb Holt more. That's part of the point there. And I can't stress enough the longevity of this recruitment. And I've been front and center to see it when Calipari first took the job. So I know for a fact I don't have to ask around and hope I get good information. I was there in the trenches doing the work. That's really important when we come in and talk about this stuff, knowing what we're talking about. All right, so let's move on. We've got more to talk about today. We're 15 plus minutes in. I hope you like the Caleb Holt news. I know everybody wants to hear he's going to be a Hog. We're just not there yet. We're not there yet. But I will tell you this. I will have a Caleb Holt Arkansas commitment story ready when I'm in Fayetteville this weekend to cover the football Hogs, just in case. And we are going to be digging around to find out how that visit's going. We always have reports on that kind of stuff and bring that out on social media, and we come in here and talk. So strap in. I think this is going to be a cool recruitment, and it sounds pretty good for Arkansas right now. Until it doesn't, then if it seems to backslide a little bit, we'll talk about it. The other thing we're going to get into today, and I teased this on my tweet, is Lenardi. I wrote an article yesterday about this. I tweeted about it. But Lenardi, this time of year in the offseason, he updates his bracketology. Joe Lenardi, ESPN, acclaimed bracketologist. Yes, it's way early. Yes, it's still the summer. Yes, we're, a couple of months from the opening tip of the regular season, 60-something days, 67, 68 days from the regular season. Still a little bit out, but, Lenardi, this is fun. And you're looking at how the rosters are built, the power of, the strength of the programs at the time. And a lot of this stuff is becoming a little more predictive only because top seeds lately are advancing further and further with fewer Cinderella upsets the further you go in the NCAA tournament. The last couple of tournaments, it's been more like that. I mean, Arkansas was the Sweet 16 Cinderella out of the SEC, so you get the picture. So there is some value looking at some of this stuff this early. We know some of this will be off, but they'll adjust as they go. But for now, we get one of these a month. And the August release was yesterday for Joe Lenardi. He is so bullish on the SEC like most of us are. He's projecting 14 teams in. He's got Arkansas slotted as a 4 seed, which is what he had Arkansas in July. Now, he's oscillated. He's been doing these for months since the previous college season ended, in early April. So he's been doing these way too early, and he's had Arkansas as a 5 seed. The last 2 updates, he's had them as a 4 seed. And that's equivalent to, if you're going to try to compare it to a national poll ranking, like a top 25 ranking, that's effectively equivalent to, a 13 to 16 ranking. I think Arkansas, John Rothstein has Arkansas projected 11th preseason right now. You're going to see 10 to 15 range, maybe some a little further out. I think the ones that get a little further out of that 10 to 15 range probably aren't giving Arkansas enough credit. And I think the ceiling is Arkansas is a Final Four championship, final weekend, Final Four kind of caliber team. I think on paper, on just putting things together, the retention, the talent level, the size, the athleticism, the length, all of these things, the veteran qualities, guys that have been through the wars to get to a Sweet 16 and nearly an Elite 8. I think all that stuff gives Arkansas that kind of shine. But for now, preseason, this is good. And Lenardi as a 4 seed, that's pretty strong. And so we'll see where it lands. But 14 SEC teams, that's how many actually made it the NCAA tournament last year. That was a record. That was a record. It was considered the strongest conference in the country throughout the year, not just that for that season, for last season, but ever. And you get 14 of your 16 teams in, and no other leagues had that many ever before. It was unprecedented. That spoke to it. Your eventual now, you had half the Final Four from your league, and you had the national champion. And you had a lot of teams, half of the Elite 8 was from the SEC. And of course, the Sweet 16 included Arkansas and Kentucky and Ole Miss. I mean, the league just kind of dominated this thing. That was a big deal. But look, here's where I go with this. In addition to his respect for Arkansas and the league, if you really drill down on it, it really illustrates, when you look at Arkansas's non-conference scheduling, it illustrates just how brutal this schedule is that we keep talking about. If you just take Lenardi at his word right now, Arkansas, out of its 31 regular season games, which they'll have, we know of 26, We're waiting on 5 more to get to 31. We know all 18 SEC matchups, where they're being played and what the dates are for all of that. Once you add all that up, of the 31 games, 20 of those are against teams in the field that he's projected as being at-large worthy. So in other words, yeah, the SEC is going to have an automatic qualifier, whoever wins the SEC tournament. But he's saying, not knowing all that right now, he projects 14 SEC teams, not on the strength of knowing that they'll need that automatic qualifier so that 13 can get at-large bids, but that not knowing who's going to get the automatic qualifier, he sees 14 SEC teams as at-large bid worthy, regardless of which one actually wins it and gets the auto. So the point here is, you look at 20 of your 31 games as at-large worthy quality opponents, 20 of those, and all 5 of the marquee matchups in non-conference play are not only projected as NCAA tournament teams, but most of them are in that top half of the each bracket gets a seeding 1 through 16. These teams are all top half of that. So 1 through 8, they're in that group. Some 1s in here. 2 1s out of your non-conference schedule, Duke and Houston, 1 seeds. So let's go through that. Houston's the overall number 1 seed. Duke is got a nod for a 1 seed. Florida, the defending national champions, will be projected by most to win the SEC, given a 1 seed in this bracketology. So Arkansas, one of the things we drill down on is, based on this projection now, if it played out that way, Arkansas is going to play 3 in its regular season, 3 of the number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament field. That's insane. We know they're playing all of the Elite 8 teams from last year, but it's not about just what they did last year. If they did that last year, but they're in a rebuild mode, they might not be projected to do much. No, the teams that did well last year are projected to do it again. And so that's why, it's not just a misleading conversation where you're leaving something out and it's a red herring. No, these teams are going to be strong again, or at least that's how they look right now. And it's going to be hard to convince me that Houston, with what it's bringing back and what it's bringing in, the same with Duke, that they're not going to be among the top teams in college basketball this upcoming season. So 3 of the 4 1 seeds, right as it looks now, is what you're going to face in your regular season. Arkansas is going to play 6 teams that are projected to be seeded in the NCAA tournament, either equal to what Arkansas is as a 4 seed or better. So 3 1 seeds. Kentucky's projected as a 3 seed. Arkansas gets Kentucky at home. We know they play away from home with those 3 projected 1 seeds, right? Houston and Brooklyn, Duke and Chicago, and they're on the road for Florida late in league play, late February. So all of those are away from home. Kentucky projected 3 seed, you get them at home. Tennessee projected 3 seed. Lenardi might be a little more bullish on the Volunteers than maybe I am coming into it, but he's got them projected a 3 seed. Arkansas gets the Vols at home in Bud Walton Arena this year. And then Auburn, who got to the Final Four last year, won the SEC regular season last year, was the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament last year. Auburn is projected as a 4 seed, same as Arkansas. So 6 opponents that are projected to be seeded as highly as you or better in the NCAA tournament. At the end of the day, I mentioned you're playing 21 projected at-large worthy teams out of your 31 games. That's insane. That's a tough non-conference that helps lend itself to that. We mentioned Duke and Houston is projected 1 seeds, but he's got Louisville getting mad respect, I believe, as a 5 seed projection. Michigan State he's got up there as a 5 seed as well. Arkansas plays that road game November 8th. We know that now. Louisville, you get it home, though. That's the ACC-SEC Challenge, December 3rd. So another home game against another one of those top-tier kind of teams. But 20 games against NCAA projected teams, 12 of those will be played away from home. 3 at neutral sites. 3 of those are neutral sites. And so, again, you go back through that. Or, excuse me, no, that's right. 3 at neutral site. Texas Tech, who I believe he has projected as a 6 seed, that'll be in Dallas. Again, Baylor in Brooklyn, and the third neutral site game is Duke and Chicago. And then one of those, you've got of those 12 away from home, 3 are neutral site, 9 are on the road. 8 of those road games are against SEC teams. And when you play an 18-game SEC schedule, half of those are on the road, half are at home. So 9-9. So of your 9 road games in the SEC play, 8 of those teams are projected into the big dance. That's insane. That's a lot of quad 1-win opportunities. The other road game is against Michigan State out of the NCAA tournament projected teams. So 12 on the road. And if you're playing 20, simple math says you're only getting 8 of those at home. We mentioned a couple of those. Kentucky, Tennessee, or 3 of them, Louisville. Some of the other ones that are projected in, obviously, that Arkansas is going to host. Auburn, because you play them twice. You'll play them on the road also. It's one of your road games that are in this number. You get Missouri in the round robin home and away as well. I think he's got Missouri projected as an 8 seed. You're playing Texas at home. I think Texas is projected as an 8 or a 10 seed. You're getting Texas A&M. New coaching staff, new regime there, a lot of question marks, but he's got A&M projected as a 10 seed play-in, so one of the last 4 buys. But you get A&M at home this year. So there's a little look at what Arkansas is facing. We already knew that it was a tough schedule. We already knew the respect of the SEC. We already knew the quality of some of these non-conference teams. But to put it in perspective of, if you knew ahead of time who was actually making the NCAA tournament and looked at it from that perspective, and that's what Lunardi kind of gives us. No, it's not going to be exact. Some of these teams won't be. It just always happens. You know how preseason rankings work and those things. Sometimes teams are a little overrated and other ones are underrated. There's always teams in the SEC that get slept on. If you look at 14 out of 16 teams projected in, last year we said 14 got in. The 2 teams that didn't were LSU and South Carolina. It's the same 2 teams this year that Lunardi has on the outside looking in. So if the trend holds, that means what we're talking about now, if it holds, later we'll say, these were the correct talking points. I don't think it's going to be that far off from where we're looking at it now. I don't think it's, going to be skewed too much by what actually happens. All right, 27 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. Caught you up to speed today on this Caleb Holt thing. It's moving fast in terms of when we learn visit and when it's happening this weekend. But I'm trying to explain the full picture, that it's been a much longer pursuit than that. And it's got Arkansas in maybe a stronger position than people even realize. I know it's caught some of the national folks off, a little bit off, a little bit, got them off guard a little bit. But again, the source information right now sounds a little more favorable for Arkansas than maybe it did even a couple of days ago when we're wrapping our arms around just where is Arkansas in the mix, because we know they've done the work and we know they haven't just done it recently. So that stuff may be paying off in the end. We'll see. The other thing I've been doing are these confidence scales, 1 to 10. Can Calipari, what's my confidence in him? Another way to do this, and let's just do it real quick. Another way to look at this, and we'll frame it another way, is if you told me that you're getting Caleb Holt on campus, Jordan Smith Jr. on campus, Tate Kenny, all 5-star guards, all scheduled to come in to visit Arkansas by the time you get a month from now, at the end, or effectively end of September, you've got those 3 high caliber guards. You're still working on a 5-star guard in Brandon McCoy. We'll see where that goes. But you got a lot of 5-star guards. And Calipari has guard of all the positions that he's had success with, all of them over the years, getting them ready, high-level 5-star guys, bring them in, getting ready, one and dones, great careers. You can point all over every position group. But lately, it's even more so pronounced with guards. And right now, you've got a wing committed in this class. Abdou Toure, we'll call him a wing for now. He's also got a visit locked in. We're just waiting on the dates. But let's just go through guards, and I just named them. If you're going to tell me, is Calipari going to get at least one of those guys? Well, we can't point to any one of those and say that there's a smoking gun that Arkansas is the clear leader, right? We've been going through the intel that Arkansas is up there, top 2, top 3. Kind of the same thing here with Holt. Seems like the source now thinks they're top 2 or 3. But no smoking gun that Arkansas is the clear leader. But if you if you just think about it another way, Calipari always gets high caliber players and he always gets high caliber guards. Is he going to get at least one of those guys? Maybe that's a better way to ask it. I think he is. I think at the end of the day, he's going to get one of them. Let's shift that to the front court. He's put a more of an emphasis in this recruiting cycle than he has in the previous, since he's been at Arkansas, on frontline guys. Erfan Diane, Mika Murnin, Chase Foster. Baba Allah Dotton, who's reclassed from 27 to 26, 4-5 position. They're not all the same. You know, Chase Foster, more of a traditional power forward 4. Mika Miernan, a stretch 4. The pro level might even be a 3-4. The college level, maybe a 4-5. A list came out, I think even yesterday, naming the top 10 centers. It called them centers in the 2026 class. Mika Miernan was number 1. Erfan Diane was number 2. So again, frontline guys, you've already had Miernan in on a visit last year, and the staff continues to prioritize him. We know they're prioritizing Diane, and we know that he's coming in for a visit. Chase Foster, we know they're finalizing a visit. So all these guys, are they going to get all of them? No, they're taking 3 or 4 guys total. They've already got J.J. Andrews, so subtract 1, 2 or 3. But if you throw out all those names to me and say, is Arkansas the clear leader for any of them? I can't easily say that they are. There may be perceptions that someone else is, but what I will tell you is, do I think Arkansas is going to get one of those guys? I do. I think Arkansas is going to get one of the high-level guards at least, and I think they're going to get at least one of the high-level frontline guys at the end of the day, and add those to J.J. Andrews and maybe an Abdu Torre or somebody else. 3 or 4. I think Calipari's going to get there. So instead of just doing confidence level on each guy, we're going to continue to do that. But let's frame things sometimes a little bit differently. So, you know, again, we want to get to the point where we get closer to a smoking gun now that the stuff's really picking up, and the first visit date is we're on the doorstep. I mean, we're 48 hours away from when this guy's expected to be on campus, right? So it's a big weekend, and I know Calipari and his staff are going to do it right. We're going to sign off now 31 plus minutes in. Again, if something breaks, shake, something that you need to know, we're jumping back in live today. If not, I hope you enjoyed this segment, and we'll be back on again tomorrow. We will do basketball again tomorrow, but we're also going to again have a pregame for football. I don't know if I'll combine those. I'll probably do the football as a standalone now that we're getting into the season. We're still tinkering with some things and trying to improve what I'm doing there. But I appreciate everybody. Be great in all your endeavors. Have a great day. Again, it's hump day, so you're getting closer to your weekend, and it's football Hogs. You got more in your weekend than you have in a while. But until next time, we appreciate all of you. See you soon.